Well, today I'm joined by Andy Cook. Andy has over 20 years operational and consulting experience, starting and growing businesses, including own sales effectiveness and online travel companies, and creating and managing change in large organisations. Not only that, he's the owner and managing director of Better Faster Growth Limited, as well as the owner and director of Take the Family, specialising in arranging memorable holidays or memorable family holidays. So good morning, Andy.
Morning, Simon. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Also, thank you.
Great. Look, Andy, why don't we start off? Tell us a little bit about your businesses.
Sure. So, Take the Family's been going since 2004. I, as a parent, found it difficult back in the day, pre-Google being as brilliant as it is now, to find family holidays online. And so I had the idea, set up the business, and and it's still going. It managed to survive COVID, which I'm proud of. The team should be proud of. And we focus on active adventure and luxury holidays for families throughout the UK, going to anywhere around the world.
Fantastic. No, and look, I had a look at your website before we spoke today, and there's certainly some fantastic sort of holidays on there, adventure holidays, etc. So and having two children myself, sort of 13 and 17, it looks ideal, and I'll certainly be looking at that in a bit more detail. And what about your other business, the Better Faster Growth Limited, Andy?
Yeah, so Better Faster Growth does what it says on the tin. It helps organizations grow faster, prioritizing on the 3 or 4 areas that will make the difference, that will move the needle. And by better, we mean setting themselves up for growth in a sustainable way. So having the processes, the systems in place, the right people, the ways of working to ensure that they'll grow next year, and they'll grow even faster the year after.
Fantastic. Okay. So, and why did you start your own businesses, Andy? What made you sort of decide to be a business owner rather than an employee?
Well, Take the Family was really, just as I said, born out of my frustration, and I was working in the travel industry at the time, so I had some knowledge of online travel, even back in the early days, and I just saw a gap and thought that I'd be an overnight multimillionaire, which of course hasn't come to fruition, but still persisting, and then Better Faster Growth. Again, I saw a gap in the market. We focus a lot on private equity and their portfolio companies, and one of private equity's key considerations is how to ensure that they get a 3 or 4 time or more multiple return on their investment. In order to do that, their companies, the companies that they own, have got to be growing at a very fast pace. And I saw an opportunity to help there.
Fantastic. And what's your background, Andy? What made you decide on those particular industries? I mean, you mentioned there that the Take the Family was more born out of your personal experience, but what about the Better Faster Growth? What's your background that led you into that?
Sure. Well, I'll explain about both briefly. So I had an early career in the travel industry, working for a skiing tour operator, and then at the Strand Palace Hotel in London, and then for a travel technology startup. And I think that gave me both the bug for travel and the knowledge to spot an opportunity and be able to set up my own business. Concurrently, I moved to New York and did an MBA in New York, and started working for a consulting firm, and have continued in consulting on and off, but more on than off ever since, working for large American and Swiss firms, and then I decided to set up on my own again because I felt that this niche was underserved, and that I could make a difference.
Okay, and it's often like that for setting up new businesses, isn't it? It's born out of their experiences, something that they're either doing or something that they certainly enjoy doing, and then
Absolutely.
turning that into a business opportunity because they've seen an opportunity in the market, or they have a preference to go it alone, either to be their own boss or to earn more money, or a mixture of the two.
And I think it has to be an area that you're passionate about, because as you all know, Simon, starting any business is hard graft unless you're extremely lucky, which only a very, very small minority of people are. It's hard graft, and you've got to have that passion there.
Yeah, it certainly helps if it's something that you enjoy, and also if you've got that clear vision of what it is that you want to achieve,
Yes.
where you want to get to and why you want to get there as well. That keeps the discipline and motivation going in those difficult times which every business owner experiences. And talking of that, obviously we've been through the pandemic, COVID-19. So what was the biggest impact on your businesses and industry? I guess you mentioned there about the holiday business. I suspect that was fairly significantly impacted during that time.
Yeah, very much so. It was a disaster. So not only was there no revenue coming in, because people couldn't take holidays, but that was compounded by the fact that there was still a lot of work to be done because people had to cancel and rebook their holidays. So we earn a commission off a holiday once that holiday has been taken. If that holiday isn't taken, there is no money coming in the door. And yet we still had to spend a considerable amount of time on our clients' arrangements, cancelling, rebooking. So it was working hard and incurring associated costs for working hard without any revenue. Having said that, we saw the opportunity to pick up again post-COVID. We didn't know when COVID would end, but we knew it would end. And so it was an opportunity for us to spend time thinking about our focus and making sure that we were geared up properly for when the skies reopened. And I'm pleased to say that we've managed to survive and had a decent year last year.
That's fantastic to hear, and yeah, obviously I'm extremely pleased that you survived as well, and I think that really highlights two things for me that you said there. One is that taking that longer term view with your clients and the people that you're working with, sort of putting the work in now or during the pandemic, so that actually you give them that good quality of service, you help them out with the view that they will remain clients going forward. And then secondly, also that being prepared for coming out of the pandemic. So looking forward, having your head up and saying, right, we are going to come out this at some stage. We don't know when, but what do we need to do now to make sure we come out of this better and stronger?
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me about one or two of the actions that you've taken because of the pandemic. So perhaps either things that how you've sort of changed your business through learnings through the pandemic, or because of the change of environment that we're now in post pandemic.
So the pandemic taught me to cut your cloth appropriately and make sure that your fixed costs are as lean as they possibly can be. And we're very lucky with Take the Family because it's we don't have a shop. It's all online, and our staff are on a combination of basic and commission, but it's tilted more heavily towards commission. So it drove home just how very important that is. And with the sales effectiveness, both for me and for my clients, it really highlighted the benefit of Zoom. And I say to my clients now, do you really need to sit in a car for 3 hours to sell a widget when you could probably do that as effectively on a Zoom call? And sometimes there is no substitute for face-to-face communications, but I think finding a middle ground, I think a lot of companies have learned lessons from that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Is that at some stage we would have all been using Zoom and communicating over Zoom, and it sped up that process very quickly. And I think it's choosing the appropriate form of communication depending on the the scenario, what messages it is that you're looking to communicate. So sometimes that can, it's effective over Zoom. Sometimes, as you quite rightly say, it's better to get together face to face. Sometimes it's an email, sometimes it's a phone call, but choosing the best method of communication. So okay, so great learnings there. Thank you. And what's the biggest challenge currently facing your business and industry?
Well, for Take the Family, our biggest challenge, frankly, is that because we don't have a shop, because it's online, is the speculative nature of the inquiries. So if you walk into a travel agency, the chances of conversion are about 50%. If you not transact, but if you interact online, it's much lower. And so we get parents, they have 3 large glasses of wine at night, and then they send us an inquiry, and they send that inquiry to 8 other companies, and the next morning you ring them and they don't even remember who you are. And so that's tough. The speculative nature of the inquiries is tough for Take the Family.
So I guess a real big focus of yours there, Andy, is actually making sure that you stand out from the online competition as to why somebody would book with you, and making that process from lead to sale, really getting each of those steps right. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's much harder to develop the rapport if you don't have the person sitting face to face right in front of you. And so that's where we really need to focus. So our communications have to be really professional. We have to be very responsive, and we have to, really go the extra mile to develop the rapport, because we don't have that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah. And as we all know, sort of the sales is all about building that rapport. It's all about relationships, isn't it?
It is. It's key. It's key.
And a high level of sales, and not everybody, and I'm sure you understand this as well, Andy, but not everybody understands that a high level of sales is actually on emotion and not necessarily on logic.
No, absolutely. So,
yeah.
And then for the other business, it's about growth. And the challenge there is that it's all project based. The projects come through sporadically. I use former colleagues who are associates to support me on projects. I'd love to have a few employees. It's difficult to make that leap, if you like, in the absence of really steady recurring revenue.
Yeah. Okay. And what what would you say that your biggest learning since you've been in business has been, Andy?
Uh, I guess the biggest learning is well, let me take both businesses in turn. The biggest learning for Take the Family has been to stick with your vision, and I'll just explain what I mean by that briefly. We started the company as a company that offered holidays beyond the sun lounger, so really a focus on active and adventure. Then we did extremely well on Google on the search, and we were #1 on page 1 for family holidays and any other term you can think of that related to family holidays. And we lost our purpose. We hired people in to add content, because every time we added a page, it went to #1 on Google. Did very well for a few years. Then Google changes its algorithms and we disappeared off the face of the earth. And we were left being all things to all people. And we're still that to a degree. And so we're actually culling pages now. We're really narrowing our niche, our focus, to be one that's really active and adventure orientated. And I think that stands us in good stead. And it's quite similar with consulting. I have consulted around the world on many different topics as kind of a generalist. So whether that's procurement, transformation, sales effectiveness, and found that, you know, I wasn't really known for anything specifically. And about 6 years ago, I decided to just hone in exclusively on sales effectiveness and positioning companies for growth, and that's been really helpful. So I think one of the tips I would give your audience here is to stay true to your vision and purpose.
Yeah, great advice. Yeah, absolutely. Sort of, yeah, it's quite easy, isn't it, to I think they call it the magpie effect, where you start to see these sort of nice shiny things, and you start to drift off your journey to what it is you want to achieve. So that's fantastic advice there, Andy. So, Andy, I noticed on LinkedIn you follow Satya Nadella, chairman and CEO of Microsoft, and also Bill Gates as well. So are they particular people that you find inspiring to you?
Bill Gates, very much so. I guess for his personal life, I'm not so sure about now. But what he did was extraordinary, business wise, and then yeah, Satya has been very impressive too. How he's managed to keep that momentum going at Microsoft is pretty incredible.
Yeah. Okay. And is there what's inspiring you today? What's inspiring you to keep to your vision and focus?
I mean, professionally, I'd say you know, the growth of both businesses. Take the Family, being able to add employees, making sure that they have a comfortable life, making sure that the families who take our holidays come back and they're absolutely delighted, and the memories literally last a lifetime. So that gives great pleasure. And then on the consulting side, helping companies to literally grow and staying in touch with them, and you know, keeping abreast of their developments and their journey, that gives tremendous satisfaction.
Yeah, no, I certainly share that view. So, one final question for you, Andy. What's the best advice you'd like to give an 18-year-old you?
An 18-year-old me, I would just say be a little bit less risk averse. You know, really go for it. Just follow your passion, and seek out opportunities. Don't necessarily stand on the treadmill and do what everyone else is doing if that's not your passion, is what I would say.
Like it. Very good, very good. Well, look, Andy, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today and sharing more about your businesses and also your journey as well. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Simon.